Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. The sky above Clyros 9 burned with streaks of crimson plasma, tearing through the void like open wounds, spilling light that glowed like the blood of dying stars. On the surface, endless fields of black basalt stretched into the horizon, glinting with a metallic sheen under the flickering glow of orbital explosions. The temperature outside Elias Kane's makeshift shelter was a brutal -170°F, cold enough to freeze blood solid in seconds without a thermal suit. His wrist display blinked a warning: shelter power at 47%. Estimated runtime, 19 hours. Elias leaned against the dented metal wall of his shelter, a jagged chunk of wreckage from the Dawnbreaker, his ship that had crashed on this godforsaken rock 3 days ago. The wind howled through the crags outside, a low moan like some exhausted beast, mingling with the distant rumble of the battle raging in orbit. He checked the energy rifle across his lap, counting the rounds: 12 plasma bolts, enough to take down a few mercenaries if they sniffed him out. But against the full might of the Vorin Corporation, ruthless bastards who'd shot down his ship and were now hunting him like prey, 12 shots were a cruel joke. Shelter status, stable, but structural integrity's down 31%. The shelter's AI, nicknamed Spectre by Elias, reported through its built-in speaker. Recommendation: reinforce western seams before atmospheric pressure drops further. Got it, Elias muttered, his breath forming a white cloud despite the shelter's heaters running at max. He pulled up the hood of his thermal suit and grabbed a repair kit from a nearby crate. This shelter, a patchwork of cutting-edge tech and desperate improvisation, was the only thing keeping him alive in Clyros 9's frozen hell. 3 days earlier, the Dawnbreaker, Elias's geological and archaeological survey ship, had been ambushed by a Vorin strike fleet while charting an asteroid belt near Clyros 9. Every star chart in his database marked this sector as a safe zone, free of military activity or pirates. But Elias had long stopped believing in coincidences, especially where Vorin was involved. He'd seen their handiwork on distant worlds: cold, merciless, a machine without a soul, crushing anyone who stood in their way to get what they wanted. He activated his log recorder, a habit from his days as an independent researcher. Day 4, Elias Kane, space archaeologist. Dawnbreakers down, courtesy of Vorin, reason unknown. No rescue signals. Maintaining radio silence to avoid detection. Current position: 17.4 north, 89.2 west, near a basalt ridge. Found traces of ancient structures in the rock, possibly remnants of an uncharted civilization. He paused, finger hovering over the stop button, then added, "If Vorin finds me first, I'll make damn sure they pay a steep price." Elias peeled off his thermal glove, staring at his calloused hands scarred from digs on brutal worlds like Tharsis 3 and Erebus 4. But it wasn't the scars that gave him pause. On the back of his left hand, a faint sigil shimmered, etched into his skin, glowing a soft blue when he brushed it. It had appeared 6 months ago after he accidentally triggered an ancient device in a cave on Erebus 4. He didn't know what it was, only that it sent a strange energy coursing through him whenever it flared, like something old and alien waking up inside him. Safe spot, he whispered to himself, a mantra to push back the fear. Nobody's finding you here. But deep down, he knew Vorin would come. They always did, like high-tech wolves tracking their quarry. He powered up his handheld geological scanner, its blue light casting shadows across his weary face, highlighting sharp features and steely gray eyes. A topographic map flickered to life, revealing a sprawling network of caves beneath the nearby basalt ridge. The tunnels stretched for miles, a maze deep enough to hide him from orbital scans. If Vorin sent a search team, and he was damn sure they would, he'd need an escape route to buy another day. Suddenly, the scanner beeped, picking up an anomaly, a faint energy signature pulsing from 3 kilometers below the surface. Elias frowned, muttering, "No way." Clyros 9 was a dead world, no signs of life or significant geological activity. But this signal wasn't like any mineral or power core he'd studied. It had a rhythm, like the slow heartbeat of something sleeping. Exhaustion finally won, and he dozed off, only to be pulled into a dream. He stood in a blinding white room, its walls gleaming like liquid glass, reflecting a gentle blue glow. Hooded figures in white robes moved around him, whispering in a language he couldn't grasp, like wind echoing through the stars. At the room's center, a cylindrical device blazed with light, its blue radiance pulsing like a living flame. In the dream, Elias was a 15-year-old boy, hands trembling as he reached for the device. The light exploded, swallowing everything. Screams mixed with the crash of metal and shattering glass. In the corner, a small, non-human figure with shimmering silver skin stared at him, golden eyes wide with panic. Then it all dissolved into darkness. Elias jolted awake, sweat beading on his brow despite the shelter's chill. The sigil on his hand glowed fiercely, its blue light filling the cramped space, as if trying to speak. "Easy," he told himself, taking deep breaths to quell the energy surging through him. His wrist scanner beeped, flagging an irregular heartbeat. Spectre chimed in. "Recommendation: administer sedative to stabilize heart rate." "No way," Elias snapped, silencing the alert. Sedatives would dull his edge, and on Clyros 9, losing focus meant death. He stood, running diagnostics on the shelter's systems. The routine, checking pressure, temperature, power, grounded him. Numbers didn't lie or betray. He opened the log again. Day 5, Elias Kane. Surface temps dropped to minus 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Detected an unknown energy signal in the cave system. Frequency doesn't match any natural source. We'll investigate once the orbital plasma storm eases. Rations good for 52 days at current intake. He left out one detail. The Dawnbreaker's distress beacon was coded to self-destruct after sending a single message. Not a call for help, but a warning: stay the hell away from Clyros 9. Extreme danger. The plasma storm in orbit grew fiercer, crimson streaks falling like fire rain, shaking the basalt ground. Elias sat, using a breathing technique he'd learned from a space monk on Titan. Inhale for 5, hold, exhale for 7. The sigil on his hand dimmed, but he still felt it, alive, a part of him he didn't understand. A sudden noise broke the silence, not the wind or orbital blasts, but a dull thud against the shelter's outer door. Elias froze, hands snapping to his rifle. The scanner showed no biological signatures outside, just plasma swirls and basalt dust. But the thud came again, fainter, like a desperate plea. He flipped on the exterior floodlight, its white beams slicing through the thick dust. Cautiously, he cracked the door, and a blast of frigid air hit like a blade. What he saw stopped him cold. A figure collapsed inward, sprawling across the shelter floor in a tangle of long, dust-caked black hair and blood. Its skin shimmered silver, like liquid metal under the light, alien and hauntingly beautiful. Blood, darker than human, almost black, oozed from a chest wound. Acting on instinct, Elias dragged the figure inside, sealing the door against the storm. The creature, clearly female, despite non-human traits, lay still, her chest barely rising. Her wrists bore fresh red gashes, marks of chains or restraints recently broken, as if she'd fought like hell to escape. "I'm Vera," she whispered, golden eyes flickering open once before she passed out, her body going limp. Elias stood rooted, his scientific curiosity warring with survival instincts. She wasn't in any database he knew, but something about her, those golden eyes, that silver skin, stirred memories of his strange dream. He shook it off, powering up his portable med scanner. Physiology unknown. Closest match, Carvani species, data restricted. Requires foreign level clearance, the scanner reported. Elias's heart pounded. Vorin again. The corporation's shadow loomed everywhere he went, a specter he couldn't shake. "Show vitals, species be damned," he ordered. The scanner complied, revealing Vera's body temperature plummeting, heartbeat erratic, and severe blood loss. Without action, she'd be dead in hours. He grabbed the shelter's sparse medkit. Vera's chest wound bore the telltale burns of a plasma weapon, Vorin's signature, with clean, cauterized edges. Carefully, he cut away the torn fabric, revealing intricate patterns on her silver skin, not tattoos but symbols woven into her very being, glowing like tiny star veins. When his finger brushed one, the sigil on his hand flared in response, a strange heat surging through him, making him pull back. "You're safe," he said, unsure if she could hear. "I've got you." He worked methodically, cleaning the wound with antiseptic, applying antibiotics, and sealing it with synthetic skin. The scanner showed her vitals stabilizing slightly, but her temperature kept dropping, even with the shelter's heaters at full blast. An hour later, Vera's eyes opened, golden pupils narrowing as they locked onto Elias. She tried to sit up, only to collapse with a wince of pain. "Don't move," Elias said, keeping his distance to avoid spooking her. "You've lost too much blood. You're in bad shape." "Human," she said, her gaze sharp as a blade. "Elias Kane," he replied plainly. "I'm helping you because you need it. That's all." Vera scanned the shelter, her eyes darting to every corner, assessing exits and potential weapons. "I escaped," she said, each word a struggle, as if drawn from her last reserves. "Vorin, they're after me." The corporation's name made Elias's sigil burn, like it was reacting. "You're safe here," he said, though he didn't fully believe it. "Vorin doesn't know I'm alive." Vera gave a faint, bitter laugh, her silver skin glinting under the shelter's lights. "Nobody escapes Vorin. Ever." The scanner beeped a warning. "Critical hypothermia. Immediate thermal intervention required." Elias wrapped her in an emergency heat blanket, but the scanner kept sounding alarms. Her alien physiology needed more warmth than the shelter could provide, even at full power. "I've got a military-grade thermal sleeping bag," he said. "It'll keep you warm." He pulled out the specialized gear, built to sustain body heat in extreme conditions, even the vacuum of space. Vera eyed it warily but was too weak to protest, giving a slight nod. Elias lifted her gently, surprised by how light she was despite her height. When his skin brushed her silver flesh, a faint electric jolt passed between them, not painful, but strong enough to startle him. Vera let out a soft gasp, her golden eyes widening, as if she felt it too. He settled her into the sleeping bag, activating its heating elements. The scanner showed her temperature stabilizing, but not enough to pull her out of danger. "You need more heat," Elias muttered, making a bold call. He stripped off his outer thermal suit, keeping only the thin liner, and slid into the sleeping bag beside her, careful to maintain space in the tight confines. The moment their bodies touched, a stronger electric pulse surged through them. Vera inhaled sharply, studying him with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Your heat, it's different from other humans," she said. Elias kept as much distance as the bag allowed. "How many humans have you met?" "Enough to trust none," she replied, her gaze piercing despite her frailty. They lay in silence, the plasma storm's wail and the shelter's steady hum the only sounds. Elias caught a strange scent from Vera, like molten metal mixed with something vast, like the void between stars, alien yet oddly familiar. "What are you doing here?" he asked, breaking the quiet. "This planet's nothing but rock and death." "I didn't choose it," Vera said. "I was taken. Brought here. But I broke free. Why's Vorin after you?" Her eyes, heavy with the weight of a lost world, met his. "They want what I guard. A device that can reshape reality. Only Carvani blood can activate it." Elias felt his sigil flare, as if it had a mind of its own. "What about me?" he thought but didn't say. Instead, he offered. "I picked Clyros 9 because it's nowhere. Sometimes, running's the only way to keep others safe." Something in his words softened her, her shoulders easing, her gaze less guarded. "Then we're alike," she said. "Running from those who'd claim us." The scanner showed Vera's vitals improving, steady heartbeat, rising temperature. Their breathing synced, a strange rhythm against the storm's chaos. Elias drifted off, dreaming not of the white room but of a field of shimmering silver flowers, where a silver-skinned girl with golden eyes watched him, as if she'd been waiting for him across eons. He woke to Vera's gentle nudge. You called out names in your sleep, she said, her eyes curious but kind. Names I don't know. And your sigil, it glowed. Elias glanced at his hand, the sigil fading into shadow. Old ghosts, he said after a pause. People I couldn't save. Vera didn't press, but her look said she understood. I carry that weight too, she said softly, her words heavy with loss. Those I failed. Over the next 3 days, the orbital storm eased slightly, but Voron's ship still showed on Elias's scanner. He and Vera worked together, reinforcing the shelter's weak points and checking its power systems. Vera healed fast, though her chest wounds slowed her. She insisted on joining him to map the caves beneath the basalt ridge, restless at the thought of staying still. During one expedition, they found an ancient structure buried in the basalt, walls carved with intricate symbols, like the patterns on Vera's skin and Elias's sigil. He scanned them, but his database drew a blank. They matched no known language or script. This isn't chance, Vera said, tracing a symbol with her finger, reading it like a story. My people, the Carvani, were guardians. We were made to protect ancient secrets, things other civilizations forgot. But Voron, they burned our world, hunted us for what we keep. Elias's sigil burned, as if echoing her words. What do they want from you? He asked. She turned, her golden eyes locking onto his. My blood, she said. It's the key to an ancient device. Something that can reshape reality, space, time, even the stars. Voron wants it to rule the galaxy. Before Elias could respond, a distant explosion shook the cave. His scanner lit up with heat signatures closing in from the north, fast and coordinated. Vera tensed, her eyes darkening. They've found us, she said. Elias gripped his rifle, fingers tight on the stock. His sigil flared blue, as if sensing the danger. They'll have to go through me first, he said, his voice steady, though he knew the fight ahead would be anything but easy. A distant explosion rocked the cave, sending shards of basalt raining from the ceiling, stirring up a haze of fine dust that hung in the air. Elias tightened his grip on his energy rifle, his eyes darting to the wrist scanner's display. A dozen heat signatures, moving in tight formation, closed in from the north, less than a mile out. Voron had found them, faster than he'd expected. We've got to move, Elias said, dropping to one knee beside Vera, checking the thermal sleeping bag. Her body temp had stabilized, but the chest wound still slowed her down. These caves are our best shot at losing them. Vera nodded, her golden, metallic eyes blazing with a survivor's grit that Elias recognized instantly. I won't hold you back, she said, pushing herself up, wincing as pain briefly froze her in place. Elias didn't argue. He packed up fast, geological scanner, medkit, and their last power bar. Slinging his pack over his shoulder, he checked his rifle one more time, then handed Vera a small plasma knife from his gear. Take it, he said. Just for backup. Don't make me do all the heavy lifting. She took the knife, her silver skin glinting as she tested its edge. I'm no deadweight, she shot back, her gaze sharp as the blade. They abandoned the shelter, plunging into the cave system beneath the basalt ridge. Elias's flashlight beams sliced through the darkness, illuminating walls that shimmered with a metallic sheen. Ancient symbols, like the patterns on Vera's skin and the sigil on his hand, were etched into the rock, guiding them deeper into the planet's heart. Elias felt his sigil heat up, a pulse of energy making him clench his fist instinctively. Any idea what these symbols mean? He asked, his eyes fixed on a wall carved with intricate swirls and lines. Vera brushed her fingers over one, tracing it like a story written in stone. They're the language of the Guardians, she said. My people, the Carvani, were keepers of ancient devices, built before the stars we know were born. We don't fully understand them. Only that they're vital, and dangerous. How dangerous? Elias asked, glancing at his scanner to track Voron's heat signatures. They'd slowed, likely sweeping the area. If Voron gets their hands on them, Vera replied, they could tear down or remake the galaxy. The device they're after, activated only by Carvani blood, isn't just a weapon. It's a tool of creation and destruction. Elias stopped, locking eyes with her. And you're the key? She nodded, her gaze heavy with responsibility. I'm one of the last Carvani. My blood carries the genetic code it needs. But I don't get why you. She pointed at the sigil on Elias's hand, its blue glow flaring as if answering her. Why you bear the Guardian's mark? Elias had no answer. 6 months ago, on Erebus IV, he touched an ancient device in a cave, and the sigil appeared. Since then, dreams of a white room and a silver-skinned girl had haunted him. He wanted to tell Vera, but another explosion, closer this time, sent dust cascading around them. They're drilling into the mountain, Elias said, checking the scanner. Industrial plasma cutters. We've got maybe 20 minutes before they breach the rock. They picked up the pace, diving deeper into the caves. The tunnels narrowed, the air growing thick with the tang of metal and sulfur. Elias led the way, his flashlight sweeping across walls where the symbols grew denser, telling the tale of a long-lost civilization. Vera followed, her steps steadier despite clutching her chest. Ever seen anything like this? She asked, pointing to a wall etched with a massive circle, its lines resembling a star chart. Nope, Elias said, pausing to study it. I've dug up relics on dozens of planets. Stuff like this? It's usually trouble. He flashed a wry grin, trying to lighten the mood, but Vera's expression stayed grim. This isn't just ruins, she said. It's a temple. A sacred place of the Guardians. If Voron's device is here, we need to find it first. Elias nodded, though part of him wanted to bolt, to run from it all. He wasn't a hero, just a space archaeologist who preferred digging up the past to facing the present. But seeing Vera's unwavering resolve, despite her pain, he knew he couldn't abandon her. They pressed on, the tunnel opening into a vast cavern, its ceiling soaring high, glinting with natural metallic veins. At its center stood a towering basalt pillar, carved with glowing blue symbols identical to Elias's sigil. His scanner beeped frantically, detecting a massive energy source pulsing from the pillar. This is it, Vera said, stepping toward the pillar. The Guardian's device. It's here. Elias's sigil burned, the pain nearly making him drop his scanner. He approached the pillar, touching it, and a surge of energy roared through him, forcing him to stumble back, gasping. It's talking to me, he muttered, unsure if he was speaking to Vera or himself. You feel it? Vera asked, her eyes alight. Only the chosen can sense the device. You're more than human, Elias. Before he could respond, a deafening blast echoed from the cave's entrance. Crimson plasma light pierced the darkness, followed by the clang of metal. Voron had broken through. Elias yanked Vera behind the pillar, both crouching in the shadows. They've got numbers on us, he whispered, checking his rifle. 12 shots. Not enough. Vera grabbed his hand, her gaze steady. We don't need to beat them all. Just keep that device out of their hands. Elias nodded, but fear gnawed at him, not of death, but of failing again, of losing everything like he did on Erebus IV. A squad of Voron mercenaries appeared at the entrance, clad in sleek black armor, wielding plasma rifles and thermal scanners. They moved with precision, their lights sweeping the cavern, illuminating the symbols on the walls. Elias counted 8, each bearing Voron's emblem, a red triangle with a broken star at its core. Stay here, Elias said, handing Vera his scanner. If I don't make it back, head for the western tunnel. You don't have to do this alone, Vera said, gripping her plasma knife. Not alone, he replied, flashing a faint grin. But I'm the one with the gun. Elias moved silently, using the darkness and stone pillars for cover as he closed in on the mercenaries. He fired his first plasma bolt, aiming for the nearest soldier. The blue streak punched through the man's armor, dropping him without a sound. But the shot gave away his position. Open fire! A mercenary shouted, and red plasma bolts flooded the cavern. Elias dove behind a pillar, the air sizzling around him, reeking of scorched metal. He returned fire, taking out another soldier, but his rifle heated up, warning of overload. Out of nowhere, Vera lunged from the shadows, her plasma knife slicing through a mercenary's armor, felling him instantly. She moved with uncanny speed, defying her injury, as if driven by something beyond her body's limits. Elias was stunned but had no time to gawk. He fired 2 more shots, dropping 2 more enemies, but Voron's squad kept advancing, closing the gap. "Too many!" Elias yelled, pulling Vera behind the massive pillar. A plasma bolt grazed his shoulder, searing his armor's outer layer. He gritted his teeth, checking his rifle, 7 shots left. Vera touched the pillar, and its symbols blazed, flooding the cavern with blue light like a tidal wave. A low hum vibrated through the basalt, halting Voron's squad. Elias's sigil burned, sinking with the pillar's energy. "It's activating," Vera said, her eyes blazing. "But it needs my blood." She sliced her palm with the plasma knife, black, metallic blood dripping onto the pillar's base. The symbols glowed brighter, and a crack split the pillar's surface, revealing a spherical object inside, floating and radiating brilliant blue light. "That's it," Vera said. "The Guardian's device." Before they could reach it, a massive explosion rocked the cavern. A Voron war machine, a 3-meter-tall spider-like robot armed with plasma cannons, burst through the entrance, collapsing part of the ceiling. The mercenaries fell back, clearing a path for the beast. "Son of a bitch," Elias muttered, shoving Vera behind the pillar. "They brought the big guns." The spider bot scanned the cavern with red light, its sensors locking onto them. A massive plasma bolt fired, reducing a nearby stone pillar to ash. Elias shot back, but his plasma bolts barely scratched the bot's armor. Vera grabbed his hand, her blood smearing onto his skin, making his sigil flare brighter. "Touch the device," she urged. "It'll recognize you." Elias hesitated, but another plasma blast left him no choice. He reached for the sphere, and a torrent of energy surged through him, nearly knocking him down. Visions flashed in his mind, stars exploding, planets forming, and an ancient voice whispering not in words but in feeling, "Protect. Destroy. Choose." The pillar trembled, and a blue energy wave erupted, knocking back Voron's squad and staggering the spider bot. But it didn't stop. The machine steadied itself, its plasma cannons charging for another shot. "We can't hold out long," Elias said, checking his rifle, 5 shots left. Vera met his gaze, her eyes free of doubt, filled with absolute trust. "You're a guardian, Elias. Whether you like it or not, it chose you." Elias felt the energy within him surge, his sigil fusing with the device's power. He didn't understand it, but he knew one thing: if Voron got this device, it wouldn't just be him and Vera who paid, the whole galaxy would. "All right," he said, standing tall, blue light from his sigil spreading across his body. "Let's do this." They bolted deeper into the caves, carrying the sphere. The spider-bot pursued, its metal legs pounding the stone, echoing like thunder. Elias fired back, aiming for its sensors, slowing it slightly. Vera led the way, guided by Carvani instincts to find an exit. They reached a smaller chamber with a stone pedestal at its center. The walls glowed with symbols, as if welcoming them. Vera placed the sphere on the pedestal, and a deep hum shook the room. "It's linking to the system," Vera said. "But it needs time." "Time's the one thing we don't have," Elias replied, hearing the spider-bot's clanging steps draw closer. He turned, planting himself in front of the pedestal, rifle ready. "You work the device. I'll hold them off." Vera nodded, her blood dripping onto the pedestal, activating more symbols. Elias faced the entrance, his sigil's blue light illuminating the chamber. For the first time, he felt part of something bigger, not just a lone archaeologist, but a piece of something ancient, powerful, and terrifying. The spider-bot loomed into view, its plasma cannons glowing. Elias unleashed a barrage, targeting its leg joints, making it stumble. But Voron's squad caught up, their red plasma bolts flooding the room. "Elias!" Vera shouted as the device on the pedestal blazed brighter. "It's ready! But it needs both of us." Elias fell back, firing as he ran to the pedestal. He touched the device at the same moment as Vera, and a colossal surge of energy engulfed them in blue light. Visions flooded his mind, ancient civilizations, stars born and dying, and a promise, protect or destroy. When the light faded, the Spider-Bot and Voron's squad were gone, erased from existence. But Elias and Vera were no longer in the chamber. They stood in a shimmering field of silver flowers, like the one from Elias's dreams, stretching endlessly under a starless sky. "Where are we?" Elias asked, scanning the surreal landscape. Vera smiled, the first time he'd seen her do so, soft and radiant. "A place the Guardians once called home," she said. "But Voron will find us. They always do." Elias squeezed her hand, feeling their sigils' energies merge. "Then we'll be ready," he said, his eyes burning with newfound resolve. The silver field stretched endlessly, its shimmering flowers glinting like fallen star fragments, reflecting soft light under a sky without a horizon. Elias stood beside Vera, his hand gripping hers, feeling the energy from their sigils merge like rivers joining. The spherical device, the Guardian's artifact, hovered before them, its radiant blue light blazing, illuminating the field like a beacon in eternal darkness. The air was still, windless, with an eerie calm, as if time itself had paused. "Where are we?" Elias asked, his eyes scanning the field for anything familiar. The silver flowers quivered under his steps, alive, responding to his presence. "The safe zone," Vera answered, her golden, metallic eyes fixed on the sphere. "A pocket dimension the Guardians created to shield their greatest secrets. It's cut off from reality, but not untouchable. Voron will find us. They always do." Elias tightened his grip on her hand, his sigils light pulsing, a silent vow. "Then we can't hide forever," he said. "What do we do with this thing?" He nodded at the device, its glow casting shadows across his scarred face and steely gray eyes. Vera turned to him, her gaze carrying a trust Elias had never seen before. "We activate it," she said. "But it needs both of us, Carvani blood to unlock it, and the Guardian's power in you to guide it. Only then can we choose, save the galaxy or destroy what Voron's built." A chill ran down Elias's spine. He wasn't chosen. He was Elias Kane, a space archaeologist who'd rather dig up ruins than fight cosmic battles. 6 months ago, on Erebus IV, he'd stumbled into an ancient device, and this sigil had burned itself into his hand, bringing dreams of a white room and a silver-skinned girl. He tried to outrun it, but now, standing with Vera, he knew there was no turning back. "How do I choose when I don't even get it?" he asked, staring at the device, half expecting it to answer. Vera touched his arm, her silver skin cool yet vibrant. "You don't need to understand it all," she said. "Just believe we're doing this for those who can't protect themselves." Elias met her gaze, seeing the strength in her golden eyes, and part of him wanted to be the man she believed in. "All right," he said, stepping closer to the device. "Let's do this." Vera drew a plasma knife from her belt, slicing her palm. Black, metallic blood dripped onto the sphere, igniting its blue light into a living flame. Elias touched it, and a surge of energy tore through him, like a current linking him to the cosmos. Visions flashed, planets shattering, stars born from nothingness, and an ancient call echoing, "Protect. Destroy. Choose." The moment shattered. A violent explosion ripped through the safe zone's silence, reality tearing open. A crimson gash split the sky, like a gaping wound, and from it emerged a massive Voron warship, black and sleek as death, bearing the red triangle with a broken star. Smaller spider-bots, less monstrous than the cave beast but still lethal, poured from the ship, landing in the field, their metal legs crushing silver flowers into glittering dust. "Faster than I figured," Vera said, clutching her plasma knife, her eyes blazing with unbreakable resolve. Elias checked his rifle, 5 plasma rounds left. "Not nearly enough for an army." "How long to fire this thing up?" he asked, eyes locked on the warship, now deploying more mercenaries. "A few minutes," Vera said, turning to the device. "But you've got to keep it running. If you let go, it stops, and we lose everything." Elias nodded, pressing his hand to the sphere, its energy vibrating through his bones. I'm not budging, he said, though deep down, he knew this promise might be his last. The warship descended, its hull bay opening wide. A squad of black-armored mercenaries spilled out, armed with plasma rifles and thermal scanners. Leading them was a towering man in a high-ranking Voran, his metal mask gleaming, red eyes glowing through slits. Voran's elite, not some low-life grunt. Elias Kane, the commander rasped through his mask's filter. You've wasted our time. Hand over the device and the Carvani girl. I'll let you walk. Elias smirked, gripping his rifle tighter. I don't buy Voran's promises, he said. You guys have a habit of shooting folks in the back right after a handshake. The commander tilted his head, sizing him up. You're no hero, Kane. Just a relic digger running from your past. Don't die for something that's not yours. His words hit Elias's deepest fear, that he wasn't enough, that he couldn't change a damn thing. Memories of Erebus 4 flooded back, the cave explosion, colleagues dead because of his curiosity, and this sigil, a curse he couldn't shake. But he glanced at Vera, her blood dripping as she worked the device, its blue light growing brighter. She believed in him, and that was enough to keep him standing. I might not be a hero, Elias said, raising his rifle, but I know which side I'm on. He fired his first plasma bolt, hitting the nearest spider bot. The blue streak punched through its armor, sparking an explosion. Voran's squad retaliated, red plasma bolts scorching the field, turning silver flowers to ash. Elias rolled behind a small rise, dodging fire, and shot back, dropping a mercenary. But they were too many, and the two remaining spider-bots advanced, their plasma cannons charging to obliterate him. Vera worked faster, her blood fueling the device, its blue light bathing the field. Almost there, she shouted, her focus unwavering. Elias's sigil burned, pain nearly forcing him to let go. But he held on, their energies merging, unleashing a blue wave that staggered Voran's squad. One spider-bot toppled, but the commander stood firm, signaling his troops. Bring in the big one, he barked, and a mechanical roar echoed. A colossal war machine, over 13 feet tall, with 4 plasma cannons and armor like a fortress, crashed onto the field, shaking the ground. Son of a bitch, Elias muttered, checking his rifle, 3 rounds left. He fired them all, aiming for the machine's sensors, but the plasma bolts barely scratched it. Its cannons locked onto him, red light building. Vera grabbed his hand, her blood smearing onto his, making his sigil blaze. Don't let go, she said, her eyes fierce with determination. We're so close. Elias gritted his teeth, holding the device as its energy shook his body. Visions flashed again, ancient civilizations crumbling, planets rising from stardust, and a truth resounding, your choice shapes everything. He didn't know what he was doing, only that if Voran claimed the device, the galaxy would pay the price. The giant machine fired a plasma beam, and Elias shoved Vera down, the blast grazing his shoulder, searing armor and flesh. He screamed but stayed upright, drawing his plasma knife. Keep going, he told Vera, his eyes burning with defiance. He charged the machine, targeting its leg joints where the armor was thinner. His knife sliced through metal, sparking, but a mechanical arm swatted him, sending him crashing into the silver field. Blood poured from his shoulder, mingling with the glittering dust. Elias! Vera cried, but she didn't leave the device, knowing stopping now would undo everything they'd fought for. The Voran commander advanced, drawing an energy sword, its red blade glowing like blood. You had your shot, he said, looming over Elias. But you chose death. Elias lay bleeding, but his sigil still glowed. He felt the device's energy, Vera's strength, the field itself. Erebus 4's ghost haunted him, but this time, he wouldn't run. He was human, and humans don't quit. Grabbing a sharp silver flower shard, he lunged, stabbing it into a gap in the commander's armor. The energy sword grazed Elias's chest, burning deep, but he drove the shard deeper, toppling the commander, his red eyes fading. The giant machine still loomed, its cannons targeting Vera. Elias staggered to his feet, blood streaming, and stumbled to her side. "Activate it!" he shouted, collapsing beside her. Vera touched the device one last time, her blood and Elias's energy fusing completely. A blue energy wave erupted, swallowing everything: the war machine, Voron's squad, the warship above. Elias felt himself dissolve, not in pain but in strange release. His final vision was Vera's smile, the silver field blooming, and a new galaxy born from the void. When the light faded, Elias opened his eyes. He wasn't in the safe zone. He stood on Clyros 9's surface, but it was transformed. Black basalt now sprouted silver saplings, glinting under a clear sky free of plasma storms. The air wasn't frigid but warm, like the planet was breathing again. Vera stood beside him, her chest wound healed, her silver skin radiant like a living star. She took his hand, her golden eyes brimming with emotion. "We did it," she said. "The device activated. It didn't destroy, it rebuilt. Clyros 9's a sanctuary now." Elias looked around, spotting small ships descending from orbit. Not Voron warships, but refugee vessels carrying survivors from across the galaxy, Carvani with silver skin, humans with hopeful eyes, and species he didn't recognize. They stepped onto the planet, staring at the silver saplings in awe, unable to believe a dead world could live again. "Voron, come back," Elias said, scanning the sky where new stars shone brighter than ever. "They will," Vera replied, squeezing his hand. "But we've changed the game. The device is gone, melded into Clyros 9, turning this planet into a fortress for survivors. And us." She met his gaze, her eyes full of hope and resolve. "We're the new guardians." Elias felt his sigil glow, no longer painful but part of him, like Vera, this planet, and the people arriving to rebuild. He wasn't a hero, but he'd chosen to stand, not for glory, but for those who needed a chance to live. "You changed me," he said, looking into her eyes. "I thought surviving was enough. Now I want more." Vera smiled, a real smile, not just beautiful but alive, like the saplings at their feet. "You gave me hope," she said. "That's stronger than any device." They stood hand in hand as more refugee ships landed, bringing survivors from worlds Voron had crushed. A group of Carvani approached, bowing to Vera with reverence, but she shook her head, pulling Elias close. "We did this together," she told them, and they nodded, their eyes alight with new faith. Elias gazed at the sky, where new stars burned like flames, defying the galaxy's darkness. He thought of his lonely days on far-off worlds, running from his past. But now, with Vera beside him and Clyros 9 a beacon of hope, he'd found a purpose bigger than himself. "We'll be ready," he said, grinning at Vera, "for whatever comes next." They walked among the silver saplings, guiding refugees to new settlements. Clyros 9 was no longer a dead rock. It was a flame among the stars, a declaration that, against all odds, humans and those like Vera could light the future, not just to survive, but to build a new world. In the days that followed, Elias and Vera worked with the refugees, carving homes from basalt, planting fields with seeds from distant worlds, and training a defense team for Voron's inevitable return. Each night, they sat under a sky of silver stars, sharing stories of those they'd lost, mistakes they'd overcome, and dreams of a galaxy where no one had to run. Clyros 9 became a symbol, not just of survival, but of unity. Carvani taught humans ancient tech, humans brought creativity and unbreakable will, and other species shared their knowledge, forging a community stronger than any Voron empire. Elias knew Voron wouldn't quit. They'd return with bigger ships, deadlier machines. But this time, they'd face a planet guarded not just by tech, but by hearts that refused to break, people like Elias, Vera, and thousands who'd chosen to fight. He looked at Vera, her silver skin reflecting the new star's light. "How far you think we'll go?" he asked, his eyes full of feeling. "Until every star's safe," she replied, gripping his hand. Under Clyros 9's glittering sky, Elias and Vera stood together, not just survivors, but flames piercing the dark, proof of humanity's unstoppable strength, not just to endure, but to reshape the galaxy, forever. As you turn the final page of Elias and Vera's journey on Clyros 9, I hope their story has sparked something in you, like those silver saplings blooming on a once-dead world. This tale, about a relic digger fleeing his past and a Carvani bearing her people's burden, isn't just about fighting Vorin or ancient devices. It's a testament to what makes us human, not weapons or tech, but the grit to stand up, connect, and do what's right, even when the odds are stacked against us. The heart of this story is belief and resilience and hope. Elias wasn't born a hero. He's a regular guy, scarred and full of doubts. But through Vera, he found purpose, not to conquer, but to protect. The takeaway I want to share is this: sometimes, the greatest strength comes from small choices, like holding a stranger's hand or daring to believe you can change one corner of the universe. Clyros 9, once a barren rock, became a beacon of hope because Elias and Vera refused to give up. I wrote this story in the quiet of night, when ideas of stars and lost civilizations flickered like distant lights. I wondered, what makes humanity special? It's our ability to love, to sacrifice, to rebuild from ashes. Elias and Vera, with their glowing sigils and metallic blood, led me through uncharted realms of imagination, basalt caves, the safe zone, that silver field. But this story isn't mine alone, it's yours too, for walking these pages with me. What did you feel on this ride? Did Elias's stubborn resolve hit home? Did Vera's first smile make you believe in hope? Did the refugees on Clyros 9, dreaming of a fresh start, stir something in you? I'm reaching across the void, like Elias and Vera's energies merging, hoping for your thoughts. Your reactions, shock, heart tugs, or curiosity about Vorin's next move, are my compass for future tales. We're in this together, writer and reader, lighting up worlds that live in our shared imagination. Share your thoughts, and maybe Clyros 9 is just the start. There are other stars waiting to be told, and who knows, they might be watching you. That's a story for next time, if you're game.